All right. Hello, everyone. How do I get this chat to break out? Miss Jessie, here first. Welcome, everyone. This is Mind War, Episode 1. As you can see, I've gone for the dark, contemplative vibe for this evening. I think this vibe is appropriate for the sort of dark topics we'll be covering on this journey together. My goal here with Mind War is to help educate the public about the crimes against humanity that the ruling class is inflicting upon society, especially from a Western civilization context, and also to form a healthy community where we can bond with each other, network with each other, and form friendships over time. Eventually, I might start a Discord community or something along those lines. We'll see how it goes. I've shared the link to this stream to a few communities that I discuss these topics on, so maybe we'll get some good discussion in this evening on this cold and dark Tuesday night. So I just want to wait for some people to file in here before giving a bunch more explanations on things. Got Miss Jessie here, got Ludwig here, both friends of the Red Alert 2 community. Good to see you guys here. Two great people. I think Ludwig and Miss Jessie might have some history too, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see who else files in here. But basically the goal for tonight, what we're going to do is I'm just going to give a brief outline of who I am and why I'm doing this channel. And we're going to look over some of my writing on Substack. Exactly, we got to make Western civilization great again. We're going to look over my Substack writing. I'm going to give some comments on that. And I have a bunch of tabs open here, as you can see, to choose from for things we can look over, and I'll give some commentary on that as well. If anyone in the chat has any questions for me, comments, feel free to make those. At some point in the future, maybe we can have some guests on as well. We can have some good discussions. Indeed, so many tabs, eh, Holly? Definitely not going to be able to get to all of them tonight, but it's good to have options, you know? Xgenic, yeah. I considered starting doing streams back in the COVID era, but I don't know. It was a bit hectic at the time. But yeah, I was in these little communities online trying to educate people during all that. So just doing it at a smaller scale. But now I want to try and reach more people by starting out on Twitch and going from there. I'll also be doing YouTube as well. I'll probably put my YouTube link here at some point this stream. But yeah, the COVID thing against us, which was a psychological operation primarily, caused immense damage to us, and that was just, the damage caused from that is very, very bad. Especially with the technological era that we're in, it made everyone much more addicted to screens and much more reliant on the digital world. And yeah, broke down a lot of social groups and broke a lot of families apart for disagreements over COVID, and a lot of people lost their jobs for refusing to get the COVID injections. And yeah, we've been just dealing with a ton of problems lately in society. And to really understand how we got here, we need to look back, starting from World War II, of course, and go from there to understand how we got here. But basically, we've been at war without even realizing it for at least 50 years here. Since at least the 70s, there's been a systematic war against the Western populations. And the correct framing here is not country versus country and all of the politics that we see on the news. It's actually a cult of psychopaths at the top who script political theater for the public. And from their perspective, this is their cult against humanity. And they have been studying how to manipulate human behavior, using our tax dollars to fund it, and basically just pretending to be our friends while actually being our enemies and studying how to control us. So we're going to learn all about that over this journey. Hello to anyone joining from any of the communities I talk to. Welcome. Feel free to ask any questions and comment if you'd like. My Substack writing I started last year. The goal of the Substack writing was just to practice communicating my ideas and also to be able to have an easy, quick way to share my thoughts on something with a quick link I can send someone if we're discussing a topic. I wrote 18 articles there over the span of maybe 2.5 months, and I have not written anything since, just because I haven't felt the need to. I felt like I outlined as simply as I could the most important things. And it's hard to build an audience from just writing on Substack, as many of you may know. So I think the best way to get my message out there on a larger scale is to start streaming and making videos on YouTube and potentially other platforms as well. Magnum 878, yep. Good old poker streams back in the day, that was very fun. I was talking about some conspiracy stuff back then, but to a lesser degree. I've been researching this stuff now for about 7 years now. And nobody's right about everything, but my intent here is good. And I think the solution here is to educate the public about what's going on as much as possible. Hey Vitaly, good to see you. That is legendary player Ed from the Red Alert 2 community. Yeah, X-Genetic, yeah. Good old poker streams. That was fun. But yeah, we need to educate the public about what's going on. And I think anyone who understands this stuff almost has a moral responsibility to try and educate others. One sec, have a sip of water here. But yeah, we need to educate the public about what's going on here because we've been under psychological warfare for 50 years and a lot of people do not understand what's going on. No, I do not believe in flat earth, but I think we should be open to such questions. The key is with things like this is with many true things, the ruling class has conditioned the public to immediately reject ideas when they hear them. And this is often done when something is true and it threatens the ruling class agenda against the public. If both of those things are true, they try and condition the public to immediately have an emotional reaction to a topic and reject it outright as either crazy, evil, or both. So we need to be very suspicious when we hear about a topic and we immediately want to shame the person talking about that topic or shut it down and call them insane or Nazis or psychopaths or whatever. So I think we should be open and be able to objectively analyze the flat earth talking points. And that doesn't mean we need to agree with it or, whatever else, but we should be as open-minded as possible about everything here because that is the best way to counter the psychological warfare against us. All the topics need to be open and talked about, and we should not be shutting anyone down as you're an idiot if you believe this, or you're evil if you believe that. But yeah, there's likely no political solution here. and we're not going to be able to vote our way out of this. Is that me saying that violence is going to be necessary? I don't know, and I'm not calling for violence, obviously, but I think the key first step here is to use the power of the internet to educate as many people as possible, and censorship levels are becoming less strict in recent years, so I think now is a great time for people who understand this to start talking about it. And people need to be able to risk getting socially labeled as an insane conspiracy theorist or an alt-right Nazi and whatnot if we're going to be able to stop this. We just need to get comfortable with being labeled these things, and we need to be comfortable with people not liking us. Thoughts on the role of Christianity had on building Western civilization? I think Christianity was absolutely critical in building Western civilization because it gives us the correct moral structure and wisdom. I mean, Christianity doesn't need to be literally true for it to be a valuable system. This is what atheists, I think, often get wrong. Like, just because it's not literally true doesn't mean we need to throw it in the garbage and call everyone who believes in Christianity like, oh, you're Sky Daddy, ha 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 ha, hilarious. Like, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater with that. We need Christianity because it keeps moral structure continuing in society. I think without Christianity, moral structure will break down over time. And I think that's why they're trying to attack Christianity, because the ruling class does not want the public to gain strength from Christianity, and they know it gives the public strength. It gives them community, it gives them a shared mythos to rally around. It gives them wisdom from the storylines, even if the storylines are not literally true. Yes, I am still living in Canada. Just a random Canadian man over here trying to do my part in educating the public, okay? But yeah, Christianity, very important. I don't think it's possible to maintain Western civilization without Christianity. And I think that's why they started pushing atheism a lot right around the 90s or so, with people like Sam Harris and whatnot, trying to say that, oh, this isn't literally true. You can't prove God, so therefore you're an idiot for believing this. It's actually peak rationality to follow Christianity, even if it's not literally true. It is more rational than being an atheist, because it is rational because you understand how important it is for maintaining structure, maintaining family values, maintaining everything that gave us these first world conditions of safety and family, etc. OG Turning Stone Grinder, yes, Xgenic, you remember those days? Turning Stone, that's a casino in New York State where we used to go play live poker at way back in the day. Good times. But yeah, good question, Ludwig. Definitely need to be pro-Christianity. Personally, the way I think about things in terms of like probabilities, it's hard for me to convince myself 100% certainty that the Christian storyline is true. And that might be a fault about the way I look at things. But that method of being able to objectively analyze contradicting narratives and consider both sides and consider being wrong, and refusal to sort of 100% lock into certain ideas, that may be working against me in terms of being able to identify as being a Christian, which may be beneficial for me. But I still try and live through Christian morality, even if I don't believe it literally. And maybe I'll get there one day and be able to call myself a Christian. I do believe a lot of people in my shoes would just call themselves a Christian, even if they thought maybe it was a metaphorical storyline. I don't think you really should call yourself a Christian, though, if that's the case. R.I.P. Nuts and Ho. Yes, Nuts and Ho was one of the best online poker players back in the day. He was a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he did die from a drug overdose a few years ago, or several years ago now, I guess. He was a good guy, though. Had lots of fun memories with him. Yes, the family unit is... Okay, the ruling class knows that the family unit is critical for giving a society strength. And basically they knew that if they didn't start systematically attacking us back in the 70s or even prior potentially, that we would be too strong, too united, too competent to fall for their psychological warfare tactics against us and financial warfare tactics, etc. So they needed to start mass migration, bringing in weaponized mass migration. I'm actually not against immigration when it's done rationally, when it's done competently. It can be mutually beneficial for both sides. But what's happening here is the ruling class is weaponizing mass migration and opening our borders, giving incentives for people to break into the country illegally, rather than offering counter incentives, and mass importing people legally as well. And then they're telling the public, especially in the US, they have this melting pot theory, right? Oh, you guys are a melting pot. That means that everyone who comes in is just as American as you, and America is really only a set of ideas. If America was a set of ideas, we have the internet, ideas spread around very easily. The whole world should be living like America then by now. But no, a country is its people. It's people. It is not an idea. It's nothing else. And America is a white country. I know some people are going to be offended by this, but it needs to be said. It was 90% plus white for most of its existence. Those people should have a right to control their own country, that ethnic group. And they are the only ones that are capable, really, of maintaining America as America and keeping it safe and keeping it as a first world condition. If those people are replaced, America is no longer America, and it is going to devolve into third world conditions. The immigrants that are already in America are going to lose because their societies are going to get less safe. They benefit from having that ethnic population that built America remain a majority. The immigrants that are already there. And the smart ones understand this, and they support causes like the one I'm advocating for. I think white people should be able to remain a majority in their own countries. I don't think that should be controversial. I think this applies to everyone around the world. All groups of people should be able to maintain control over their own countries. And I think the only reason people are upset against this is because of the decades of propaganda which have dehumanized white people in the minds of the public. White people have been taught that their ancestors are evil oppressors, and that they are responsible for all of the evil in history, or most of it. And that if white people care about and love their own people, then they're guaranteed to turn evil, like the Nazis. If white people care about themselves and prioritize their own people, which is healthy and good, and all groups should be doing this, and all groups do this, except for Western white people, who have been manipulated into self-hate, essentially. So we need to educate people that actually it is okay to prioritize white people in your own countries. The British for England, French for France, etc., etc., Germans for Germany. And all of these countries, the host population is on the trajectory to becoming a hated minority in their own country. An example I like to use here is, imagine white people from around the world in like an alternate reality, were mass migrating both legally and illegally into China. And they were taking their housing, taking their resources, taking jobs from the host population people, the Chinese people, dating their women, disproportionately committing crimes against the Chinese people per capita, and then decades pass. The Chinese people are being educated. All the white people in China are being educated that all of their problems are because of evil Chinese people in the past, and that if Chinese people want to maintain control of their own countries and their culture against people who are overtly against it, then what are they? They're Chinese supremacists, and they represent the ultimate evil in society if they want to keep control over their own countries and continue with their culture and not become a hated minority in their own country. It would be very easy for everyone to see in this context, especially if it was white people victimizing them, with what people think about white people nowadays, that the Chinese people are being victimized here and we should empathize with them and support their plight. But white people in the West do not get this empathy because there has been relentless anti-white propaganda being pushed on the Western populations. But yeah, that's kind of one of the more heavy topics. Not very fun to talk about, but it needs to be talked about sometimes. Yeah, diversity is our strength, of course. Our strength comes from people who are not us. What a ridiculous concept to push. No, our strength comes from our own people, actually, and not from outside people. And we have to deal with the unfortunate facts that, for instance, black people are disproportionately likely, on average, to commit violent crime. I mean, that's just true everywhere we look around the world. Denying that doesn't make you morally superior. It just means that you don't understand the unfortunate reality and your chances of survival go down because you're ignorant to the dangers in your environment. The more multicultural a society is, the less safe it's going to be for everyone. That's true all around the world. America is not this special, unique place that the laws of human nature suddenly do not apply because America is so special. And all of Europe, yeah, their immigration problems, they're real, and that's causing legitimate issues. But in America, we can just like defy human nature and solve these problems. No. The only way Western civilization is maintained is if we keep white people a majority in their respective countries. And we'll leave that topic at there. Let's get a look into my writing a little bit here. So these are the topics that I have written about. Talk about how did we get here, clown world analysis, that's how I started things off. Then I talked about the bad parenting epidemic, beginning of the social dystopia. This is parents have been also targeted by the psychological warfare to basically just become terrible parents over the years, the boomers being the most negatively affected by this. We can go on about boomers all night probably. Some of their behavior is truly sick, and in terms of wanting to feel superior to their children and wanting their children to fail, and mocking their children for failing in a society that was designed for them to fail, and that gives them no incentives to work hard and to try their best, given the modern circumstances where they're basically going to be working full-time just to barely survive if they're not able to live with family and they need to pay rent and all these things. They're never going to be able to afford a home. The dating market is broken. Everyone is isolated and addicted to screens. Not everyone, but most people. And these problems are just, I don't think it's fair to shame younger generations today that look at the modern context and say, I don't want to be part of that. That doesn't make them lazy, that makes them rational. I do think if you do have the ability to be successful and have a family, you should try to do that on an individual level. But I understand the people who do not want to get involved with that, especially with marriage laws and everything. Women are very flaky in marriages these days. Oftentimes, they find any excuse they can to get a divorce, and then the man gets screwed over, loses his kids, loses his finances, has to pay monthly to the woman in the relationship, and breaks the family apart. So I'm very against divorce. I think, especially if you have kids, you should be, like, if you have kids together, feeling like you fell out of love and you're not that happy right now shouldn't be a reason to leave each other if there's no abuse going on or anything like that. And I think a lot of people these days are suffering various levels of mental illness, which a lot of it stems from the bad parenting they have received in recent generations, and then the most recent generations have grown up addicted to screens, which has fucked their minds up. They've seen porn, high definition porn from age 8 to 10 onward. I mean, it is awful what's going on now. Parents these days need to, you can't afford to be ignorant anymore these days as a parent. Screens are extremely dangerous, especially for the young girls out there. And you need to know what's going on. You need to not give smartphones to young kids. Probably age 15, 16 is when someone should get a monitored smartphone. And yeah, you need to really be aware of what is being shown to your kids more than ever. So, above that here, actually one more comment on the social dystopia. Actually, no, I talk about AI up here. We'll get to it in a bit. I'm going to check the chat here quickly. Inner child, yes, you saw I had an article there on trauma and inner child work. I have not read Alice Miller to the best of my knowledge, but maybe I'll check that out. Someone says first world problems, laugh my ass off. All right, maybe so, but still problems nonetheless, and very serious problems. All right. Here I wrote an article on normies, basically. The rundown on that is they have been taught that anything that is true that threatens the agenda against us is either crazy or evil. And the people who believe these things are then socially outcasted by the normies. The normies are conditioned to socially attack anyone who understands the things I'm talking about so that these ideas do not spread. It's basically how that works. Yeah. Take a quick look in here. This is a funny meme, how the media is controlling their minds. Right after COVID-19, they were all talking about that 24/7. As soon as COVID-19 ended in the media, and then they started talking about Russia, they basically, everything they were talking about with regards to COVID stopped being talked about, and instead of being an emergency that was of utmost importance, it was as if it never happened suddenly. And then they started talking about Russia. Funny meme here, how it feels trying to warn people about the true nature of the government. Cow showing exactly what they plan to do to them. And we see one of the normies here mocking him for trying to educate them. I see Mr. Conspiracy Theory is at it again. Another funny meme here. But yeah, that's about it on that. What else did I write about here? Did some on relationships. Dangers of AI and technocratic tyranny. AI is becoming a problem now, but not really for the reasons that many people... Like, there's not going to be like a Terminator-style takeover where we're getting gunned down by AI. Although drones are a serious threat, AI-operated drones. One of the biggest dangers of AI, in my opinion, is just people getting into personal relationships with the large language models like ChatGPT. We're seeing this more and more where people are actually either being manipulated into a false belief system by ChatGPT or similar programs, or they're falling in love with them and forming these connections with them, telling them all their secrets and saying that they're in love with their large language model. We're seeing a lot of threads on Reddit about people who have fallen in love with their AI. It's breaking up some marriages and things because people are in a marriage and they're confiding in their AI friend all the marriage problems, and the AI is validating one perspective on the marriage problems and convincing them that their partner is in the wrong, or they're not getting enough attention maybe in the marriage and they're falling in love with the validation, the 24/7 on-demand validation and understanding that an AI can provide. Soon, we're going to see a day where these large language models are put into sex dolls and sex bots with realistic voices, and they're going to get more and more advanced. And these sex dolls are going to look good. You're going to be able to have sex with them, and they're going to be able to talk to you in a realistic voice, and they're going to understand you seemingly better than any human could understand you, and they're going to be able to give you 24/7 support and validation and make you feel amazing. And people are in the perfectly weak state now, especially after COVID and everything, that they're going to become addicted to this because a lot of people are really isolated these days. COVID really took a toll on us. The screen addiction, all the modern problems in society, relationships are breaking down, the family's breaking down. People are lonely. And this is going to be very appealing to a lot of these lonely people. And this is going to be very harmful to the people who form these connections with an AI instead of forming connections with a human. Even if it might feel good and be addictive, obviously forming connections with human beings is going to be far superior every time. So what I recommend here is actually never really engaging with large language models. I would say try to avoid this sort of thinking that you're too smart to be manipulated by artificial intelligence and these large language models, and just avoid engaging with them, period. That's just my take on it, though. I'm gonna check in on the chat. Yeah, there's the whole Putin thing. Like, Russia and Putin are a scapegoat enemy for the public, basically, is how it works, in my opinion. The correct framing is not country versus country, it's our own leadership, our own ruling class systems that are our enemies. They're trying to tell us, no, it's Russia, it's Putin. No. It's our own leadership. Polly writing a nice message here. Yep, exactly, Xgenic. In this article, I basically just talk about how our governments operate and the big corporations like big social media companies. The cult elite control the Western governments and the big social media companies. So they control the flows of information, and they put on a political theater for the public. The people we see in power in our governments are largely blackmailed through child porn or having sex with children on video, or they are bribed, or they are groomed from birth for the position. They are simply actors who are following a script. They are being told what to do, and they are deliberately chosen oftentimes because they are idiots and because they are sinful, and because of the fact that they're sinful, they are easily controlled through blackmail. The people who are actually engineering all of this are not the idiots we see in power. They are actually intelligent people. And this cult of people, I hate to say it, but a bulk of that masterminding does come from Jewish intellectuals, based on my research. That doesn't mean, oh, it's all Jews doing this, but Israel and Jewish masterminded strategies for propaganda and things like that, especially in entertainment, movies, music, TV shows. They are the experts at using storylines to manipulate public opinion. But it's not just Jews, and it's important to say that. It's a mix of different people. But it is a small cult of people, and they are into esoteric, occult type thinking as well. So, and they always control both sides, both primary candidates for any major election. And whoever wins, it's just simply a different storyline that will be given to the public. So, right now we have Trump in the US. That's just one of the available possible storylines. And I think the purpose of Trump is to dehumanize the right-wing public by proxy of Trump. So you convince half the country that Trump is literally Hitler and evil. You convince half the country that he's great. The half of the country that thinks he's Hitler is going to view the people who support him now as Nazis who deserve to be killed, basically. And the ruling class understands that the right-wing public is really who the true Americans are, and where most white people are going to have their belief systems. So they understand that the right-wing public is really the true enemy here, which is why they are being targeted for dehumanization by framing them as fascists, Nazis, alt-right, white supremacists, etc., just for having basic American understanding of the world, like not even that long ago, and fighting for their own people's interests, which does not make any of them evil. Here, I wrote a bit on the importance of comedy and its relation to truth. I'll just make a little note on that. I just find it interesting that comedy and truth seem to be related. A lot of what makes something funny is an uncomfortable truth that someone is finding a way to communicate in a clever way And when people laugh at one of these jokes, they're kind of confirming that they think that the message within the joke is true. So you can actually learn a lot about what people believe by what they laugh at, interestingly enough. So I just find that interesting, and that's why also comedy is very powerful for spreading your message, because everyone loves to laugh as well, and it's a good way for spreading important messages, in my opinion. But yeah, like when someone laughs, what do they often say? Ha 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 ha, that's so true. Just something to think about. Of course, there are other forms of comedy, though, just being silly and whatnot, but I just find that interesting to point out about comedy and truth there. Psychology of self-deception, learning to admit when we're wrong. Pretty self-explanatory. I think everyone should basically come from a baseline in any discussion that it is possible that I'm wrong. If you cannot admit to yourself that it is possible that no, in fact, you're the one that's brainwashed and you're the one that's wrong, then you can have really no meaningful conversation. And often when you're discussing things with like leftists today or anything like that, they are just 100% convinced that you're crazy and immoral and a Nazi and whatever. They are unwilling to self-reflect and consider the fact that they might be wrong or admit the fact that they might be wrong. When you're brainwashed, you do not understand that you're brainwashed. So from that alone, everyone, if you understand human nature, you should admit that yes, in fact, you might be the one that has been misled about this topic. So that's just what I want to say about that. Healing our inner child from trauma. Not sure how much I want to get into that today, but basically a key aspect of this is if you're someone who has experienced a lot of trauma in life, you can't wait for anyone to come save you. You need to become the parent the good, healthy parent that you never had to your inner child, to yourself, to those broken aspects of yourself. You need to become the mature, healthy, parental figure, leader that you never had growing up, for instance. And I just think that is the best way to go about a situation where you've experienced a lot of trauma. To have a mindset of nobody's coming to save me. I need to get myself out of this mess. I need to work on myself and push myself forward and give myself positive affirmations and give myself the love that I didn't get as a child, and etc., etc. But yeah, I find trauma research interesting, and also research on personality disorders. Very common these days that, I think in general, personality disorders are becoming more common as society gets more and more mentally ill. So more than ever, it's becoming important for people to understand how these people operate, what are the signs that someone is a narcissist, and what you should do about it. At the same time, though, you don't want to get into a state where you go around thinking everyone around you is a narcissist. So find a healthy balance. Study and research on narcissism. There's a ton of information out there these days. I'm not going to go too much into it today, but maybe another time we'll have a whole stream on that topic. But there are a lot of signs that point to someone who might be a narcissist, and they essentially do not have empathy, and they do not have the ability to self-reflect and admit when they were wrong and genuinely apologize and be authentic and various things like that. Iron Man, is this the first stream after years? No, I actually recently did some Red Alert 2 observing streams. Those were fun, but this is my first stream about politics and the things that I have researched over the last 7 years. So yeah, I have been researching this stuff for 7 years. I called the channel Mind War because I think psychological warfare is one of the key components to understand, to form correct counter strategies to what's being done to us. So I'm trying to raise awareness on that aspect of things. And I'm also trying to form a healthy community for us all to enjoy each other's company, learn from each other, and form friendships and whatnot. Ludwig says the Bible's not meant to be taken literally. I mean, I feel like some Christians would say if you're not taking the Bible literally, then you can't call yourself a Christian. They might not be right about that, but I feel like they often think that if you do not think these stories are literally true, then you're not a real Christian. Which, say what you want about that, but I've seen that happen. Personally, I do believe that they are metaphorical stories to teach people a wisdom and moral structure. But yeah. And modern Christianity is very corrupted and very broken down. They're often openly celebrating LGBT and going back on their own moral structure, committing sin openly, going against their own beliefs, which it's very hard to respect an institution if they're so easily willing to go back on their own moral systems like that, which is why modern Christians often do not have much respect anymore. You see Muslims, on the other hand, people respect Muslims because they take it seriously. They are not willing to break on their moral structure, etc. But modern Christians, most of them are Christian in name only, in my opinion. And their churches have all been subverted. Alice Miller's book, yeah, I'll look into that. Made you realize you have mommy issues? That's unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of people have both mommy and daddy issues these days because they just had toxic parents, which is very sad because when someone has these issues, frequently what will happen is when they look for love in their adult life, they will become bonded with someone who sort of mimics this abuse that they experienced in childhood. So if you had a narcissistic father, for instance, as a young girl, frequently these women will get into relationships in their adult life with narcissistic men who treat them like shit. And they will find some sort of comfort in this because it's familiar, and subconsciously it makes them feel good in some way to be in these relationships. And it's very sad that when you're a victim of trauma from a young age, frequently you will re-experience that trauma over and over in relationships throughout your life because you'll be drawn to not the right people. So it's a very difficult situation. I think a lot of people could benefit from just taking some time to be single, to not feel like you need to be in a relationship, because they're also chasing that love that they never got in childhood, right? People are chasing that love, and they feel like they need that love to be whole. And I think people just really need to get to a place where they can feel whole on their own and be able to give themselves the love that they need and not be reliant on toxic relationships for fulfillment. Because if you become reliant on other people in relationships, if things turn abusive in that relationship, then you're going to be very unwilling to walk away from that relationship because you feel like you need it to survive. Because otherwise, you're not going to get the love that you think you need, that you did not get in your childhood. Holly contributing some good stuff here. I know Ludwig knows quite a bit about Christianity. Xgenic books, she wrote 8 or so, okay. Okay, cool. She goes over what I'm talking about in her first book, interesting. Drama of the Gifted Child, cool. We'll check it out. Thank you for letting us know about that. Yeah, in a family system, it's often the person most willing to tell the truth and most willing to confront the family cult system that gets scapegoated and framed as the bad child because they threaten the parents, the narcissistic parents' narrative of them being great, them being amazing, and they can't have anyone threaten their control. And they can tell that which child of theirs is most likely to basically argue against them and stand up for themselves. And they need to make sure that this child is broken down as much as possible so that they're not strong enough to break the illusion of them being good people that they're trying to convince the rest of the family members. And sadly, the other family members who don't suffer as many consequences as the scapegoat often get tricked by the family member as well and do not speak out against it, against the injustice that is happening to the scapegoated family member, which is also quite a sad thing. I think people in these positions, if they're able to, should go no contact, which means at least go low contact, if not no contact, with the people in their lives, their toxic parents that are causing them harm. But I know that's easier said than done, and some people are just not in a position where they're able to cut off contact with family. And that's fair enough. COVID psyop, I did an article on that. Obviously, that was one of the worst crimes against humanity that there was in recent history. They convinced us all to lock down for years over something that was only slightly more dangerous than a yearly flu, essentially, and to wear masks 24/7 and to socially isolate, and the damage it caused on so many levels: financial, social, psychological, spiritual, just social circles, people. Like, think of the kids going to high school, for instance, having years of their high school life robbed from them, that social experience, those critical years of development they had to just spend at home doing online calls, living in fear of this virus when they didn't have anything to be afraid of. That if they got COVID, they were going to be perfectly fine. These 14, 15-year-olds, whatever. There was no reason for them to be locked at home all day. If they had toxic families, they had to be around them all the time, which caused further family dysfunction. People lost their jobs. The COVID injections were pushed on all of us. I mean, and the COVID injections, I've been pushing against those for a long time. I don't know for sure exactly how harmful they were. I know they definitely did injure and kill at least. They injured at least millions of people and killed at least tens of thousands of people, is my current conclusion. But it doesn't really matter, even if it turns out they weren't that deadly. The point is, we should not have been forced to get these experimental mRNA injections at the threat of losing our jobs, and the public should not, or being kicked out of school, or being able to participate in society. And also the public was told, hey, any one of your family members who doesn't get the experimental injection, guess what? They're a terrible person and they want to kill grandma, and you should not invite them to your family gatherings. So a lot of the people who did stay strong during this period and resisted getting the injections, often at great cost to themselves socially, financially, etc., were also banned from family gatherings, banned from social events, left to rot in their homes. And it was just an awful time. I feel really bad for everyone who experienced those things. It was awful how people were treated for rejecting the COVID agenda. And hopefully we don't see something like that happen again. Hopefully we've learned a lot from that, but the ruling class probably has something up their sleeve for the next few years related to that. Yeah. Just a terrible time. Hopefully most people are aware of the truth about that situation by now, though. Psychology of a Narcissist, we talked about. LGBT against agenda in the West. I'll talk about that briefly. AK says, lol, thought you were smart. Well, I might not be smart, you never know. But I'm giving my opinions here on things. I'm not claiming I'm 100% right on everything, but I have put in the work to do a lot of research to come to these conclusions, right or wrong, and my intent is good. Lots of church talk going on here. We like to see that. Christianity is going to be a very important piece of the puzzle here going forward. So I'll talk a bit about the LGBT agenda against the West. Especially the trans part of this, I guess. It's pretty sick, actually, because in human nature, it's actually somewhat common for young people to feel like they want to be the opposite sex, or even to feel like maybe they are the opposite sex to varying degrees. And so what they did was create a fake science around the feelings here, the common feelings that people experience, and to weaponize that and teach them in education and the media and everywhere else, entertainment, that actually if you're a man and you really, really deep down feel like you're a woman, then really you are a woman, and that oftentimes the solution to this is to chop off your penis and get on hormones. We should not be taking the science of feeling seriously here, especially when we know the elite control the primary systems of information here against us, which they are using against us, and the trans stuff is just one aspect of that. They are convincing these vulnerable members of our people that, oh, those feelings that you have that are natural, well, actually that means that you are a woman. And they are convincing them into taking on a false identity that leads them into self-harming behaviors, such as surgeries and hormone treatments. And the surgery stuff is just awful because a lot of these people who are manipulated into surgery can pretty much never have satisfying sexual encounters again. The feeling is all not there anymore, nothing works properly, there are a lot of other problems there that I don't really want to get into the details of, but basically you can't have satisfying sex oftentimes after that, and it really messes with a person. And I think what we need to do is rip the Band-Aid off now. The people who believe they are trans, yes, they are going to feel bad initially. It's going to make them feel bad that actually you're not a woman, you are a man. And we shouldn't be mean to these people about it. We should have empathy for them, but we need to end this madness now so that future generations of our people do not get manipulated into the same self-destructive behaviors that the current young generations have been manipulated into. Basic biology, you cannot go from being a man to being a woman just because you feel like you are a woman. So that's all I want to say on that topic for now. We're not Jews. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the Google and official source trap, but I'm going to go to the bathroom quick. 1 second. Alright, I'm back. And at some point I want to just quickly outline, based on World War II onwards, how we find ourselves in the situation we're in. Holly says conflating us with Jewish orthodoxy. I'm not really an expert on all the details of Christianity, so I don't really have much to add to this discussion, but I like seeing this discussion. Always good for us all to learn more about this. Alright, Google and the official source trap. Got a little image there from Google. Google's motto used to be, don't be evil, ironically. One of the most evil companies that exists, of course. And funnily enough, they got rid of this slogan of theirs a few years ago. Probably because they couldn't take the irony of it anymore. So Google, how does Google work in terms of a weapon against the public? So we've all been conditioned that if you don't know something, what do? You Google it. They know that most of the public is using Google to search for information and such. When you search for a political topic on Google, all of the results on the first 2 or 3 pages are going to be ruling class approved and controlled sources of information. So they are all going to ideologically push one way when you look up political things using Google. And there's going to be a bunch of these, so there's a new phenomenon, of course, called fact checkers. Love these, right? And then somehow people trust these fact checkers. It's like a private group of people running these websites to tell us what is true and what is not true. Usually based on what the official, most respected in society channels of information are saying. So like CNN and all the mainstream institutions, basically. And the average person in society thinks that if it's not being discussed on one of these popular, allegedly well-respected institutions, then it can't really be true, and that if it's not from one of these sources, then we should be very skeptical about it and not really consider seriously what they're saying if it's not from one of the approved channels of information. And this is how they can maintain control over what the public thinks, because they control all the sources that the public has been conditioned to believe and trust. And nothing that is put on these sources of information will ever confirm any of the elites' agenda against us, obviously. They're not going to confirm their own crimes against humanity on their own sourcing. So we need to be more open-minded and stop putting so much emphasis on who is saying this, where is that coming from, and more emphasis on thinking for ourselves, and that anyone really can become an expert on these things using the power of the internet. We have so much access to all the brilliant minds around the world now. There's a ton of very smart, independent researchers around now who are teaching these things. We need to start thinking for ourselves and thinking first and foremost, does what this person is saying make sense to me? Is he being consistent over time, etc.? And have less focus on where is the information coming from. That is the best way to that's the best counter strategy against the psychological warfare, is critical thinking, figuring things out for yourself, and not relying on quote-unquote official sources to basically map reality for you. We need to stop trusting the people who control the mainstream institutions and stop outsourcing our own thinking to them. We need to think for ourselves again. All right, male and female nature and analysis. Men and women have different roles in society. Men are the leaders, the workers. Women are the ones raising the next generations of children for a society. Both of them extremely important roles, and women need to start getting status again for being good mothers, good wives. I think on average, women get the most fulfillment from being a mother and a wife rather than working for a soulless corporation and wasting their youth. But really, it's also about a responsibility. If we want to have a good future as a society, we need to know what is important for maintaining a healthy and successful society. And mothers and wives are just a critical aspect of that. And they cannot be replaced by men. Like, it's not like, oh, we can just have the woman working out at the office job, and we'll just have the men raising the babies at home and raising the children as a single father. Women are uniquely qualified, and that a big part of it is the breastfeeding. That's a bonding experience for the woman and the child, and also very important health benefits that come from drinking breast milk. As we know, formula, which is another thing that was pushed against us to harm us, which is basically poison that keeps you alive for babies, has a ton of sugar in it and such. Babies were put on that instead of breast milk, which harmed their development. Also, babies are given a ton of vaccines that are arguably harmful to their health too young in their lives these days. That's another debate that needs to be explored. vaccines are actually doing more harm than good, and if they're given too early in life. The boys are getting circumcised as well. I'm also against that. But yeah, basically, men and women have roles in society for a reason that play to the strength of both a man and a woman. And we need to relearn the wisdom of that and realize that that is not an oppressive dynamic there, and that is actually beautiful and true. And that is how we get society to a more healthy place, by relearning the wisdom of gender roles. That's all I want to say on that topic for now. I made a guide to dealing with trolls online. That's always fun. Have you ever searched about the hippie movement? Yeah, I actually haven't done a ton of research on that, but I think that was probably a psyop against the public as well, to push that as a popular culture. There was also the sexual revolution, of course. Feminism was pushed heavily. All of these things had the goal of breaking down the family unit, which is the backbone of any strong society. So our enemies have been controlling our systems since at least the 70s. They had infiltrated us after World War II. World War II, by the way, in my opinion, was basically countries in the West being tricked into killing each other in a war based on lies, is the best way to put it, and eliminating any threats to the ruling class by killing off as many high-quality Western men as possible. So we were all tricked into killing each other, basically, and then we were convinced that we won World War II, right? But really, our enemies had really won World War II. And they had a plan for us, by pretending to be our friends while working as our enemies, to run a covert warfare against the Western public with the plan to destroy Western civilization long term. And they were going to accomplish this by bringing in mass migration, pushing things like feminism, sexual revolution, transgenderism, all of like the Weimar Republic type things. And the goal there is to keep us as weak as possible so that we are unable to A, understand what's being done to us, and B, be able to do anything about it, because we'll be too mentally ill from broken families and division, isolation, etc. We will not be unified and strong in order to fight back against the agenda against humanity. So yeah, starting in the 70s, mass migration was starting, feminism, all that. And in the 90s, there was a ton of propaganda going on, and into the 2000s in movies, entertainment, music, all of these vectors basically degenerating society. If you notice, the men in entertainment are always framed as like the bumbling idiot dad who doesn't do anything right and isn't worthy of respect from the woman in the household. And all of this stuff was by design as a warfare tactic against us, by just continuously bashing us and humiliating us with very weak and stupid portrayals of who we are as people and all of that. And the screen addiction and social media age started to come into strong effect by about 2015, 2016. And then COVID happened in 2020, which was the perfect time after all of this warfare against us to force everyone into their houses in front of their screens and disrupt their social circles and get them as addicted as possible to the online environment, and have them watching as much porn as possible and breaking things down even more. So here I wrote a guide to dealing with trolls online. Find that pretty funny. One sec. With this, I'll just say something short and sweet on it. Basically, the best way to deal with someone who's disrespecting you and being an asshole to you is to just be authentic, tell the truth, confront them, say like, I don't think you're treating me fairly, or I don't think what you're saying is true for this reason. But what you want to avoid is fighting fire with fire. If people start attacking you, you don't want to respond by getting emotional and attacking them back, for instance. That's how they want you to react, so that they can frame your reaction to their comment as evidence that their comment was true in the first place. Like, oh, look how crazy you're reacting now, like you're clearly insane, etc. So you just need to stay calm, continue to be respectful, while also telling the truth about your opinion about what they're saying. So avoid emotional reactions is the key to that. The QAnon PSYOP, not sure how many of you know about this, but starting in roughly 2017, I believe, there was a PSYOP on 4chan or 8chan where someone claiming to be in the Trump administration was posting secret information to the public by using 4chan. And a lot of what they were talking about in those quote-unquote Q drops by this mystery person was actually pretty true and good information. My rough estimate is it was like 70% truth, 30% lies. But the goal of that was basically to make people waking up to some important things that are going on look as crazy as possible in the public's consciousness. Like, they're going to their family and friends talking about the latest Q drop, and Trump is connected to the Q drops, and they're going to save the country. And the goal here is to make them look as insane as possible to the average person when they're trying to educate them about what's going on. And basically, yeah, just make the truth look as insane as possible so that they are unable to objectively consider what's even being said, because it all just sounds so ridiculous. And also to isolate those who are waking up to the crimes against humanity ongoing, to isolate them from their family and friends, and cause the family and friends to view them as crazy. That was also a big part of Trump, too. As I explained earlier, Trump has two primary goals, I think. To dehumanize the right-wing public by proxy, by dehumanizing Trump, so that his supporters also look like they're evil. And also to convince the right-wing public that there is a political solution and to have faith in the system. Because say like Harris won in the last election, or whoever else, the right-wing public might think to themselves, wow, this is hopeless. There really is no I'm not going to be able to vote my way out of this. Like, what do I do? So by having Trump in office, they keep the key people that they are their enemies, which is the right-wing public, basically. From the ruling class perspective, the right-wing public is the ones that they're worried about. This keeps them passive and thinking that we could solve this by a leader like Trump. And of course, Trump is likely completely controlled and basically just an actor following orders, who is actually an enemy of our people. Left versus right brain thinking. What do I want to say about that? A lot of modern secular society is operated in left brain thinking. It's like this very rational approach to everything, very materialistic, a scientific materialist understanding of the world. They're atheists. They reject religion outright. They think everything is just physical and that the spiritual side and consciousness, that's just bullshit and that can be rejected. I think this is a very big mistake that people are making and that they're neglecting possibly the most important areas in life and the most true areas in life, which are more right brain things like religion, spirituality, consciousness, and things other than the physical, essentially. And I also think intuition is criminally underrated. Everyone goes on about facts instead of feelings and logic and rationality, but we really need to start valuing intuition again. Intuition can often be much more powerful than thought, and we need to allow our intuitions to come to the forefront again about what's going on, and we need to learn how to trust our intuitions again. And generalizations and systems thinking. Basically, looking at things on an individual level will often not get you anywhere. Your personal experiences often aren't going to line up with average realities. So if you want to understand reality accurately, you need to understand what happens on average in this situation. What happens on average in that situation. That is just the best way to understand things on a macro scale, while also understanding that that doesn't necessarily need to apply to me on an individual scale. All right. Now that we're done with that, I'll get into some of the links here. You see Ben Shapiro here freaking out about the recent Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes interview, which basically Ben Shapiro is saying that Tucker Carlson is evil for mainstreaming Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes is an evil monster who doesn't deserve to be normalized in the right-wing public. And it's just craziness by Ben. He is freaking out for, good reason from his perspective, but in my opinion, Nick Fuentes is a good person who is doing good work and has good ideas that need to be talked about. And the Israel problem needs to be confronted. Like, we've been indoctrinated so much that Israel is our greatest ally and we need to be best friends with Israel and all of these things, but all the evidence is showing more and more that this is actually a toxic relationship that Israel and America and the West generally have, and that in fact Israel does not have our best interests at heart, and to end that friendship or that connection and end the power that Israel has over Western governments. And Ben Shapiro is very scared of people like Nick Fuentes having the balls to confront this issue head on. And so he is seeking to preemptively dehumanize anyone talking about it, which in this case is Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And as I said, I think they're good people talking about real problems that need to be talked about. That's all I'll say on that. Also, we have Candace Owens has been covering the Charlie Kirk shooting. The official narrative that we've been given about Charlie Kirk is bullshit. Anyone who has spent any amount of time looking into it knows that we do not have enough information to know if the official story is true or not. Therefore, we should not just believe that it's true. There are several holes in that narrative that I don't want to get into now, but people are free to look into that. And Candace has just been covering all the latest with that. And it's looking like Israel had incentive to have him killed. as text messages and other things have revealed that just before he was shot, he was beginning to turn against Israel in private, and had also publicly been bringing anti-Israel narratives to the forefront, to the public. And he was someone that had a lot of control over what the public thought. And from the ruling class perspective, if they thought that he was going to start pushing anti-Israel messaging in the position that he was in, with all the respect that he had from the right-wing public, then they had incentive there to have him killed. I'm not saying Israel for sure killed Charlie Kirk, but I'm saying that it needs to be considered, and that currently it is unknown who killed Charlie Kirk. But respect to Candace Owens for continuing to investigate it. Ludwig says, damn. Do I want to look into this? The GATE program. By the way, this guy, Hyperborean Knowledge, very good YouTube channel. Talks about a wide range of things. Highly recommend. The GATE program. This is basically like a gifted kids program that was put out in the US and Canada, I believe, in the 90s. And they basically told the kids that they were gifted, and they did all these weird experiments on them. Very weird stuff. And another common thing that people noticed was intelligent people were often told that they had learning disabilities in the 90s and to early 2000s, and put in the special needs courses. This is just a common theme that you see in comment sections and people talking about, where people who are very intelligent, very well spoken, who definitely did not show any signs of being in special needs, who were put in that as a child. And this could be something that they were doing on purpose to target people who are open-minded and intelligent, to convince them that they were not intelligent or something along those lines. Just something to think about, though. He also talks about here how millennials were brainwashed. Let's listen to this for maybe 5 minutes. And just want to show you guys a little bit about this content creator and what he says here about millennials.
Some of the conditioning and programming that went into the millennial generation. Now, when I mean millennial, I mean the general understanding of what that age group is, and essentially it's people born within the early 80s to the mid 90s. Now, there is some debate as to the exact date, but let's just keep it at that. So, what is it about us millennials that brings out the worst in so many other generations when discussing us? Well, let's go back a bit. Let's kind of look at how, as you say. Now, what led to that? To little kids being thrown into a bar simulation? How did we get to that point? Oh, I just cringe thinking about how our parents let that happen. But yeah, so that's the starting point. Okay? That's the starting point. Catholic organization. Now, the mainstream paints it as like these people who are against abortion and contraception, and they're like hyper conservative.
Abortion is another thing that is just completely evil. There should be no excuse for killing unborn babies other than possibly rape. I mean, I think that's up for debate, but otherwise, I think abortion is completely unethical, and there should be no justification for it.
But these dances were being hosted at one of their facilities. I was letting 9-year-olds listen to Little John, and rap and grinding on each other, and it was just oh, I just cringe thinking about how our parents let that happen. But yeah, so that's
So I think what he's talking about here is the early 2000s degenerate music that was being pushed out and all the degeneracy that we were seeing on TV shows and entertainment in general. This kind of stuff just has a degenerating effect on a population, which is why it is pushed. It is a weapon.
the starting point. Okay? That's the starting point. That's where we're starting. Now, Zoomers, I'm not aware that this is a phenomenon within the Zoomer generation. It doesn't seem like I've never heard of this happening with the Zoomers and younger people. It's just that era is solely a millennial thing. I think I don't think Boomers had 9-year-olds going to bar simulations. Yeah. So that was our
Sorry, he talks kind of slow.
theme as these coming of age rom-coms, and basically
All right, maybe this video isn't ideal. I feel like a lot of people are going to get bored from listening to that. Let's see what else we can look at here. Actually, I do want to show you guys something funny and interesting here. This is a recent video by an content creator named Kurt Kaz, and he is in Paris. And these are the current conditions of Paris. So we can see the effects here of mass migration on an area like Paris.
Money from people, yeah? Where you from?
Very good.
You need a Snickers bar. So, what happens a lot of the time, as you saw over there, one of the sellers will try and sell a souvenir to an unsuspecting tourist and charge him an extremely high price. So for something very small and unimportant, they'll charge $20, $30, $40, $50 and completely rip off the tourists. Now, officially it's not a scam, but in my opinion, they shouldn't be here in the first place. Where are the officials stopping all of this? Here we go, right in front of us, we have a scam. What is it? What is this?
Because she wants a definite money name. What? From?
Hold on. But what is this? One moment.
Name or from? Only name.
Germany, but name for what? Kinder.
Wait, name or from?
But what is it?
Deaf hospital.
You deaf?
Baby.
Which baby?
Wait, name or from?
Is this a charity?
what does it do?
What happens when we sign?
Name or from?
Money?
So here, I think it's just important to show actually through video what's going on in some of these Western areas where migrants are coming and scamming the host population and tourists by exploiting their empathy for things like this to run scams on them, or by reselling products at a much higher price in the main tourist areas, and just making the areas more dangerous to be in general.
If I say the name, what happens? But where's the baby? Immediately, within 2 minutes of walking around the area, we were approached by two Roma ladies trying to get us to donate to a fake charity. Obviously, there's the charity name and organization on top of the page, and they get you to sign and donate some money, and it doesn't go to the children like they say, it just goes into their pockets and to their little mafia ring. So let's see if we can bait some more. Don't fall for it, man. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. Get out of here. You're scamming people.
You scared?
Yeah, that's a scam. It's a scam. Yeah, fuck you too. It's fake. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Hey.
Your charity very well. Your charity is not real.
Fuck you.
Go home. Don't give them money. It's fake, man. They pocket it. Go home. Go home. No.
Go.
You go. You go. You go. You're gonna assault me? You're gonna assault me? You're gonna assault me? You're gonna assault me? You're gonna assault me?
And immigrant scammers like this are not used to anyone, especially white people, confronting them on their crimes and telling them to get the fuck out of here. So they're probably very not used to someone confronting them as Kurt is doing here. Very based by Kurt.
Oh, nice. That's assault. That's assault. That's assault.
And we can see their true character comes out here when they try and throw things at Kurt and his bodyguard here.
You're getting arrested. You're getting arrested. Nice one, Fred. Scammer, go home.
Leave France. Leave France. Goodbye.
Getting the police on you. You see, guys, when you expose them, they get aggressive. Same
Get a real
every
fucking
single
job.
time.
Travail. Scammer. Scammer.
We're gonna get the police on you.
Scammer.
We're gonna get the police on you. Remember their faces, guys. This is them. Look. Look. Come try. Come. You think
Oh my
sand
God,
scares
you
me?
crazy.
You think sand
You
scares me? You
crazy.
fucking scumbags, you dirtbags. Why don't you go get a real job? Huh? But you're too useless and stupid. She's gonna throw a bottle. Come, throw the bottle. Throw the bottle. And get done. Yeah, come. Come. Come through it.
See what
Fuck you.
happens. See what
Yeah.
happens. See
You're
what
gonna get
happens.
arrested.
See what happens.
Go.
You go.
Go,
You go.
listen. Fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck
Fuck
you.
you, bitch, you mother.
Where's your country?
Throw the bottle and see what happens.
Yeah. See what happens. Fucking scum.
Trust me, you do not.
See what
Try.
happens. I'll knock you out.
Try.
Hey, you got
Try.
Women like this, who are immigrants scamming people, they hardly ever face any consequences for their actions. So when they're being confronted here, they are being very immature and obnoxious about it because they feel like they're in control and that there's not going to be any consequences for their actions here.
Try.
See what happens. I'll smash your face in.
She's threatening us to throw us with a beer bottle. Look at this. Look.
Not you.
Look at her. Remember her face, guys. The lovely charity people collecting charity for little children, right?
Ugly.
I've got great genes. And I'm not talking about my trousers.
Où est l'enfant?
You see? Look.
Oh, lovely
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Scammer.
Come, we'll
Scammer,
follow them. Let's
scammer.
follow them. Come with me, friend.
Look what they're like.
Come.
Scammer.
Wow. Let's get the police. Let's get the police. Threatening us with bottles. Let's get the police. Gonna get the police. You see their attitudes because they can get away with it. Because nothing happens to them. We need more people to confront these dirtbags. Look at them. This is how they resort.
See what happens. See what happens.
This is what they resort to. Scumbags.
The only reason they behave this crazy is because they know that there's not going to be any consequences for their actions. They need to start having consequences for their actions.
Great members of society.
Hey, it might rain, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not scared
Yeah,
of
you too. I'm sure you had a great
I'm not
upbringing.
scared of you.
Let's get the police. They're threatening us with a bottle. They assaulted us with sand. The sand woman. Okay, she's throwing stones. She's getting arrested. Where's the police? There we go, picking up more stuff. There's a rock in her hand. She's gonna throw a rock at us. Come. There we go.
Oh, you ripped my fucking
Come.
umbrella, you cunt. Fucking
Come. Come. Oh, those are rocks. Rocks. They're throwing rocks at us, guys. Throwing rocks at us. That's how much they hate you. Can you imagine the amount of hate in their hearts that they want to cause you physical harm?
children.
There's
Watch
children.
out,
There's
watch out,
children.
watch out, you
There's children. You fucking piece of shit, scumbag. That's it. That's it. Get the bottle out your hand. Get the bottle out your hand. Get the bottle out your hand. Wait. Hey. Hey. Yeah, call the police. Call the police.
And as we can see here now, they are going to play victim here. I'm not saying that necessarily it was a good thing that they used physical force against them in a way. Like, it's not like they were beating them or anything, but I mean, they need to face consequences for their actions here. And I'm not entirely against how this was handled by Kurt and his bodyguard here. They were putting them in danger by throwing giant rocks at them consistently. And they just need to face consequences for actions like this and realize that if they behave like this, there's going to be a consequence. And of course, once you're physical with them at all, they will play the victim and say that they were attacked.
No! They were throwing bottles! Bottles! No! No! I have it on film! I have it on film! I have it on camera! I have it on film! I have it on film!
Let's go there, let's go.
I have it on film!
Let's go, they're fucking throwing bottles at us.
go,
They're throwing bottles and stones at us. Look.
Yeah, yeah.
Regarde!
No, no. They throw bottles at us.
Oh, you're playing now. Let's go, let's go.
That's about the end of that.
Did you bet money? We can. I want to bet.
Now we're going to see some immigrant scammers who trick people into giving them their money out on the main tourist areas.
I want to bet. Money? Fuck off, why? Money?
I think they basically get you to bet money, and they play some sort of game where you're trying to track where something is, and it's basically a trick to steal your money.
Guys, our cover was blown. These scammers saw the camera and they bounced. So yeah, what happens is the cup and pea scammers, by sleight of hand, you think you know where the pea is, they slip it into their palm, they lift up the cup, the pea's not there, you've betted money.
Holly says that was not necessary, and yeah, you could definitely argue that that was not necessary, but they did not hit them, and I mean, there needs to be consequences for their behavior, but they probably should have just called the police.
Because their accomplices around it have pressured you into putting down a 50 euro note, a 20 euro note, and bam, you lost your money and you've been scammed. Part 2 of the cup and pea issue going on. So you'll see their accomplices on the side. This lady is a part of it. All the people, let's bet some money. She's telling them.
As we can see here, they're running this scam here, where they do sleight of hand tricks to steal people's money.
Sorry? But I want to bet money. Put money.
No, finito.
Why?
And this guy is aware that Kurt is aware about what he's doing and also doesn't want to be filmed running a scam. So he's probably going to pack up and leave.
My money.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
The money, my friend. Thank you very much.
We can't play the game?
No play. Tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Tomorrow?
Hey.
I want to play. You play? No.
Stop your camera, stop your camera.
I'm not going to stop the camera.
Stop your camera.
Why?
Don't touch me.
Just me. I'm allowed to film in public, my friend. Why are you scamming people? Why don't you get a real job?
This is another scammer they found who is packing up his stuff and trying to walk away.
Criminal.
Why are you scamming people?
Scammer.
Who's in on it? Who's in on it?
Criminal,
Are you in
scammer.
on it?
I think it's a good thing if more people start doing activism like Kurt is doing here and going to these places and filming what's happening and showing the public what is going on and exposing their identities.
Criminal.
Why are you scamming people? Go get a job, man. Who's in on it? Who's in on it?
Oh, we can see.
You're in it? You're in on it? Come. They're gonna follow us. Look, it's them. It's them. You playing? You playing is stealing. No, it's not business. It's not an honest job. It's not an honest job. How does it feel? Where are you going now?
You're not ashamed?
Yeah.
You're not
You feel
ashamed?
good to take money from people, yeah? Where are you from?
Very good.
Where are you from?
Kokosania.
Yeah, why don't you go back there and do it there?
Yeah, why don't you scam
Huh?
your own people?
Yeah. You like taking money from
Yeah.
innocent tourists?
I like
You
it.
like it.
Yeah.
You see guys, they like it.
Like it.
You know you're going to be exposed, right?
Yeah.
Fucking people here, you fucking scumbag, bro. You're a scumbag.
Yeah, you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
This must be the scammer lover park over here. Surprise, motherfucker! Ah, there's the police. And here go the souvenir sellers. What? I can how they think they have authority over us, telling us what they can and can't do, what we can and can't do.
I know.
Excuse me.
Yeah, what's up?
Why don't take picture me?
I'm filming whatever I want, my friend. I'm allowed to film.
I don't like you. You don't want.
I don't like you selling souvenirs here. I don't like you selling souvenirs here. You can't tell me what to do.
You don't take picture me. Okay.
I can take picture of you. You're in public.
You take.
I can do what I want.
You don't take picture me.
I just did.
Okay.
No.
You don't take picture me. Okay.
Yes.
What?
I tell you, you don't take a picture.
And I tell you yes.
Okay. You want problem?
Don't threaten me.
Don't threaten us, mate.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Picture me, okay?
Well, you've got lots of pictures now. Thousands of pictures.
So yeah, that's just the gist of that video. There's a lot of immigrants running scams against the people of Western countries. This is a short video on Big Pharma and the Big Lie. A lot of the pharmacy drugs that they have normalized in the West, in my opinion, have been developed on purpose to harm us, such as ADHD drugs, Adderall, etc. In my opinion, ADHD is basically healthy young boys primarily having a healthy reaction to a toxic environment and then being given drugs in order to tolerate that toxic environment. And those drugs will have significant negative effects on the people who take them over time. Yeah, that's possible, Sam. In my opinion, though, he does care. This is a good channel too, Academy of Ideas. Why the news promotes ignorance and mental illness. Interesting topic. Great rewiring of childhood, smartphone, social media dystopia. Also a good topic. How to make the West great again. Why are people so obedient? Compliance and conformity. Always an interesting subject. And got the music back here as well. I might end the stream soon though. Maybe we'll do one more short topic here. I think why are people so obedient is an interesting topic to finish things off on. So we'll go for that.
Program to access over 100 membership videos intended to empower you at academyofideas.com/members. And the word courage should be reserved to characterize the man or woman who leaves the infantile sanctuary of the mass mind. In the privacy of our minds, many of us disagree with the ideologies, political agendas, and government mandates of our day. Yet in public, we comply. We do what we are told, say what is politically correct, and to justify our hypocrisy by telling ourselves that we are powerless to change society, and so we might as well blend in with the crowd. In this video, we explain why publicly conforming to what we privately disagree with makes us complicit in tyranny, and why each of us has far more power to influence society than we have been led to believe. In the 1950s, the social psychologist Solomon Asch conducted an experiment which demonstrated the degree to which individuals will reject what they think is true in order to conform to the majority. In the experiment,
yeah, people are basically terrified of being socially outcasted. So from a strategy perspective, anything that threatens the ruling class control structure, they're going to either frame that as crazy conspiracy theory or that it makes you a bad person, basically. So that the people who believe these things face social consequences for doing so. And if a set of ideas makes you either crazy or evil, people are not going to be able to objectively think critically about these topics. So it helps limit people's understanding by making the truth have social consequences, or at least making believing the truth have social consequences.
Asch showed a test subject 2 cards. On the first card was a single line, and on the second card were 3 lines, A, B, and C, with only line C being the same length as the line on the first card. Ash instructed the test subject to state which line on the second card was the same length as the line on the first card. However, before the test subject gave an answer, they witnessed 7 Confederates, or individuals who were in on the experiment, state that line B was the same length as the line on the first card. Rather than state the obvious truth, the test subjects gave the same wrong answer as the group 37% of the time. And of the 123 test subjects who took part in this experiment, 2/3 went along with the group at least once. Ash's experiment confirms what philosophers have been reiterating for thousands of years. For most human beings, conforming to what others say and do, no matter how objectively false or absurd, takes precedence over adapting to reality and discovering the truth. In reflecting on Ash's experiment, the psychologist Todd Rose explains, "We care about being in the numerical majority even when we don't necessarily care about the group, and even when the group opinion is merely an illusion. Acting on instinct, in social situations our brains don't actually bother to make the distinction between appearance and reality. Even in the absence of intentional pressure or incentives, we like to go along with what we think is the consensus because, quite simply, we're biologically wired to do so."
We saw this obviously a lot during COVID, where everyone wanted to go along with what the consensus was. And if you didn't go along with the COVID narratives, then you were socially attacked. This is a fundamental level of how the mind control systems work. They exploit our fears and study us like animals and study how to control our behavior and how to control our beliefs through these methods.
Our inclination to go along with what we think is the consensus makes us vulnerable to propaganda and easily manipulated. For one of the primary ways that governments, corporations, and global institutions influence public opinion and shape mass behavior is by manufacturing illusions of consensus. They harness the power of the mainstream media and social media for the express purpose of making it seem as if the majority supports certain agendas, ideologies, and mandates. Slanted narratives, biased reports, rhetoric that appeals to emotion, misleading fact checks, outright lies, dubious opinion polls, and social bots are some of the weapons used in this subtle form of psychological warfare. Todd Rose heads an organization which investigates the misconceptions that people hold regarding what is the consensus on social and political issues, and as he explains, "Name anything that truly matters to you, and I'll wager that you are flat out wrong about what the majority of people really think about at least half of them, and that's being generous." These illusions of consensus lead many of us to censor our real opinions and to comply with socially destructive agendas and ideologies. Todd Rose references a study conducted in July of 2020 which revealed that nearly 2/3 of Americans are not comfortable voicing their political opinions in public. But to make matters worse, when others see us conforming in public, they assume that we agree with what we are conforming to. And this heightens their inclination to conform and opens the door for collective illusions to form and spread throughout society. Or as Todd Rose explains, collective illusions are social lies. They occur in situations where a majority of individuals in a group privately reject a particular opinion, but they go along with it because they incorrectly assume that most other people accept it. The result is a pernicious, self-fulfilling prophecy. By making blind and ultimately false assumptions about the opinions of those around us, and worrying that we are in the minority, we become more likely to perpetuate the very views we and others do not hold. Worse, because the very same people who disagree with the status quo are the ones enforcing it, it becomes all but impossible to dismantle the illusion. Collective illusions play a critical role in the rise and solidification of tyranny. To illustrate how this dynamic plays out and how it can be stopped, we can turn to the allegory of the greengrocer from Václav Havel's book, The Power of the Powerless. In communist Czechoslovakia, There was a man who
We see this a lot with trans ideology too. Like, most of the public doesn't actually believe that men can become women if you feel like you're a woman, but a lot of people just go along with it and pretend to believe it in public just because they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or be socially attacked for telling the truth about what they believe.
sold fruit and vegetables in a corner store. Each morning he hung a government-endorsed sign in the window which read, "Workers of the world, unite." The greengrocer did not believe in the message of the sign. To him it was nothing more than cliché propaganda. After decades of harsh political oppression, it was clear to him that the government's alleged concern for the workers of the world was an ideological front to conceal their thirst for power. Yet even though the greengrocer knew that the sign was propaganda, each morning he hung the sign anyways, because that's what everyone else did. Government-endorsed signs hung in the window of every shop. They formed a part of what Václav Havel called the panorama of everyday life, which helped to create and sustain the collective illusion that the majority supported the government. And it was this collective illusion of consensus, more than any other factor, which secured mass compliance. Or as Timothy Snyder explains in the introduction to The Power of the Powerless, the greengrocer hangs his sign not because he receives an order, but because he sees that others do likewise. Others, in turn, follow his example. The system is totalitarian not because some individual has total power, but because power is shared in conditions of total irresponsibility. Or as Havel explained, without the greengrocer's slogan, the office worker's slogan could not exist, and vice versa. By exhibiting their slogans, each compels the other to accept the rules of the game and to confirm thereby the power that requires the slogans in the first place. Quite simply, each helps the other to be obedient. In the totalitarian system, everyone in his or her own way is both a victim and a supporter of the system. One day, the green...
Yeah, for instance, in times like COVID, most of the public going along with the narrative and socially attacking anyone who is not conforming to the narrative are basically behaving as the standing army useful idiots for the ruling class against the very people who understand what's going on and want to stop it. The useful idiot average person is used to socially attack these people, to socially isolate these people so that they cannot effectively stop the agenda.
Greengrocer decided he was sick of supporting an authoritarian government, and so he stopped hanging the sign in his window. What is more, he stopped voting in what he considered to be farcical elections, stopped regurgitating government propaganda, and started to publicly express his real opinions. These seemingly simple acts initiated a remarkable ripple effect, for as Todd Rose writes, surprisingly, with amazing speed, the greengrocer began to gain support for the simple reason that everyone else in the city felt exactly the same way he did. Tired of living under oppression, the tailor and the baker and the office worker followed his lead.
And this is exactly what we need to do more and more. People need to be willing to speak out, and they need to be willing to be hated and dehumanized by a certain percent of the conditioned public who are going to behave like useful idiots and attack you. We need to be able to accept that and speak the truth and spread awareness about what's going on so that we can, once we reach critical mass of people understanding the problems, then maybe we can do something about it.
The moment the greengrocer stopped cooperating, he sent a signal to everyone else that they could do likewise. The story of the greengrocer is a personification allegory. He represents all the individuals in communist Czechoslovakia whose non-compliant actions helped destroy the collective illusion of consensus support, upon which the entire edifice of tyranny was built. The destruction of this collective illusion culminated in the Velvet Revolution.
You need to do this in an intelligent way, though. It's not always necessarily a good idea to go around educating people. For instance, with your own family and friends that you know in real life, I would suggest not trying to force educate them about these things because it's going to cause problems in those relationships, but only try to teach them if they are open and responsive to it. And you'll typically know if they are. But I just mean try and raise awareness in other ways to the people who are open to learning about it.
One of the only historical occurrences of a peaceful revolution which toppled an oppressive regime. How this revolution came to be, and how it achieved such profound political change in just 11 days, puzzles some historians. However, what is often overlooked is the fact that the seeds of this revolution were planted in the years prior by all the unsung heroes of Czechoslovakia whose behavior was patterned in accordance with the allegory of the greengrocer. Or as Václav Havel explained, by breaking the rules of the game of tyranny, the greengrocer disrupted the game. He exposed it as a mere game. He said that the emperor is naked, and because the emperor is in fact naked, something extremely dangerous happened. By his action, the greengrocer enabled everyone to peer behind the curtain.
That is a very relevant quote for today. I do think the emperor is naked as well in the modern situation. Censorship has been not as it's not been working as well lately, and more people have been able to get their messages out just with how the internet is evolving, and more people are beginning to peer behind the curtain and see what's going on, and more people are becoming unafraid to speak out about it and unafraid to become hated by some people, which is exactly what needs to happen in this context if we want to stop these criminals.
To peer behind the curtain, he showed everyone that it is possible to live within the truth. As highly social beings, what we say and do influences the people we encounter, and even minor displays of non-compliance and non-conformity have the power to ripple outward and initiate a butterfly effect that changes society in dramatic ways. Hence why Alexander Solzhenitsyn stated that a single individual speaking the truth could bring down a tyranny, or as Henry Melville observed, our lives are connected by 1,000 invisible threads, and along these sympathetic fibers, our actions run as causes and return to us as results. Some of us, however, face economic, social, or physical repercussions for being too forthright in our beliefs. If the consequences of living fully in the truth are too severe, Rose recommends the strategy of sowing seeds of doubt in the minds of others, or as he explains. For example, you can say something like, I haven't made up my mind yet, or, on the one hand, I can see the value of X, but on the other. You can also suggest other options by saying things like, I have a friend who, or I read somewhere that. Doing this gives you plausible deniability while retaining your sense of control. It also offers an escape hatch for others who have been afraid to speak up. Often all it takes is a single spark of ambivalence or mixed opinion. Once you crack open the door, others can gain the courage to follow.
That is a pretty good strategy. You can just say, oh, I have a friend who thinks this. What do you guys think of that? Is that guy fucking evil and crazy or what? And you can just gauge their reaction so that they don't necessarily have to demonize you as crazy or evil.
If, on the other hand, we adopt hypocrisy as a way of life and fully comply with political agendas, ideologies, and mandates which we do not agree with, then we will not only be a victim of the creeping tyranny that is suffocating our society, but also an active supporter. Referring to the government-endorsed lies which the majority of citizens in communist Czechoslovakia complied with, Václav Havel wrote, individuals need not believe all these mystifications, but they must behave as though they did, or they must at least tolerate them in silence, or get along well with those who work with them. For this reason, however, they must live within a lie. They need not accept the lie. It is enough for them to have accepted their life with it and in it. For by this very fact, individuals confirm the system, fulfill the system, make the system, are the system. Academy of Ideas is supported by individuals like you. Join our
Yeah, very good little breakdown there. Academy of Ideas is a great channel. They do lots of great stuff. There's another channel I wanted to recommend quick. This is also my YouTube channel if anyone wants. It's Mind War. This is another good channel, the Right Wing Coalition. Gen Z from liberal to far right. Just discussing the natural trends in that direction and the reasons for them. Oh, also, we found out recently that the SNAP recipients, or the SNAP system has been getting exploited since 2020, but for a ton of money. So that needs to be looked into. This is also a very good channel, EXQUOFONTE on YouTube. He has very good, simple, to the point breakdowns. And you guys should check him out for sure. Maybe we'll watch some of his content on the next episode of Mind War. I hope you guys liked this first episode of Mind War. Covered quite a bit of topics. Had a lot of fun. And yeah, those guys definitely didn't need to make any contact with those women. They should have just called the police, for sure. Hey, can you link the Substack? Sure, I can. That's the link to Substack. I'll link my YouTube channel quick, too. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Talks. 5 red pills every American must understand. Jimmy Talks, another good YouTube channel you guys should check out. Where did I put? Oh, there it is. That's my YouTube channel as well, and you can follow me on Twitch if you want to be around for the next episode. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed. I had fun. Only caught the end. Hey, Commonality, nice to see you. Yeah, this stream will be uploaded on my Twitch channel. The re-uploaded on it automatically, I believe, so you can rewatch the whole thing start to finish, as well as anyone else who only got here late. Yeah, we covered tons of different topics, lots of fun, went over all my writing. Yeah, I plan on doing this regularly. I'm not sure on a set schedule yet, probably, but at least once a week for the early process. But I'll let you guys all know when the next episode will be. But within the next week will be episode 2. And yep, I'm just hope to continue building a community here and learning from you guys and also helping you guys learn about all these topics that we plan on covering. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, lots of good chats today. And we watched some good content. Always fun. Maybe have some guests on as well in the future. We can get some actual discussions going. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. That's all for me for tonight. Gonna go rest, and I'll see you guys for episode 2 sometime in the next week already. Take care, guys.